It's almost impossible to believe that a new Rhythm Heaven game has been confirmed for Nintendo Switch. I'm still so glad this announcement wasn't a dream. Finally, after years of asking for it, Rhythm Heaven Groove is the newest title announced in the beloved rhythm game series. But even though many of us will have sort of moved on from the original Switch and already enjoying the new Switch 2 releases next year, I wanted to talk a little bit about why the return of Rhythm Heaven is so important and what it means for the future of franchises on the Switch and Switch 2. Aside from the DS entry, Rhythm Heaven games have always seemed to release in the Nintendo console's twilight years, and Groove is looking to be no exception. Rhythm Heaven got its start nearly 20 years ago on the Game Boy Advance in Japan as Rhythm Tengoku. There was also an arcade version of this game, but the series didn't make its first appearance overseas until 2008 with the release of Rhythm Heaven on the DS. From here, we'd get all future entries worldwide, with Fever on the Wii in 2012, and then finally one more time with Mega Mix on the 3DS in 2016. Rhythm Heaven receiving a brand new entry in 2026 in the form of Groove is super important for showcasing Nintendo's commitment to their smaller and more niche franchises on the platform, and truly established their lineups on Switch 1 and Switch 2 as having a little bit of everything for any type of gamer. The series is generally well received, with all of the games that received a worldwide release scoring an 83 average on Metacritic, and the fans have been waiting a long time for this. When Groove releases next year, it'll have been 10 years since the last release in the series, which even came out in Japan a year earlier than the rest of the world. It's the perfect example of that wait, really? Game that Nintendo has been committed to bringing to Switch, such as Advance Wars, Famicom Detective Club, and Tamagotchi Life. And with all the hype for the new Switch 2 and the massive success of the Switch already, Groove has the potential to, and will likely become the best-selling game in the series. Now, if you're unfamiliar, the gameplay of Rhythm Heaven is very unique. There are rhythm games with somewhat similar goals and gimmicks, such as the beat-based movement in Crypt of the Necrodancer, or the classic band or guitar simulators of Guitar Hero, Rock Band, and Fortnite Festival. But where the others are based on players following their visuals, Rhythm Heaven forces the player to rely on audio cues.
4 flipper roll. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes, you can really play these games with your eyes closed. It's a concept that's only recently begun to attempt to be replicated through spiritual successors. Rhythm Heaven is pretty easy to pick up, provided you have at least some sense of rhythm. The simple premise is also fantastic for accessibility too. By using just 1 or 2 buttons per game, it opens the door for gamers of all ages and skills to give it a shot. There's a lot that goes into Rhythm Heaven that keeps it more than just a traditional rhythm game and allows it to be more memorable. It sets itself apart from the competition by having personality. It's not about the overall story of the games, if there even is one. It's about having fun while you play. You remember the characters, the music, the wacky scenarios presented to you, and they always seem to fit together in one package. Somehow a bunch of tiny monkeys in a watch fits in with a group of tap dancers, as well as the inexplicable donk donk. It's a level of wackiness and absurdity that's not like anything else Nintendo has available, except for maybe WarioWare, but that's pretty much the same team. For a while it was uncertain whether or not we'd be getting a new game at all. In 2015, lead music producer and producer of the game Sunku had been diagnosed with laryngeal cancer, and part of his vocal cords had to be removed as part of his treatment. And when your game's all about music, that's kind of a big deal. Over the years, as he recovered, he expressed interest among fans about returning to the series on Switch, and now he's officially been confirmed to return as producer for Groove. So fans can rest easy knowing the game will have that familiar feeling. Hopefully. And having the same producer is important for Rhythm Heaven Groove's personality. There's a lot that goes into making the Rhythm Heaven series so recognizable, and that was especially apparent in this reveal. People have mentioned that they could tell it was Rhythm Heaven from the dialogue sound effect that had played in the teaser, but the die-hard fans recognized the art style. Rhythm Heaven's never been known for pushing the console's limits by having a graphically intensive art direction, but rather it has a somewhat cohesive and simplistic one. As a longtime fan, it's great to see the same art direction that began as pixel art 20 years ago on the Game Boy Advance evolve over time into the similar yet updated HD visuals in Groove. Fan dedication and yearning for a new Rhythm Heaven over the years even led to the creation of Heaven Studio. This fan game was available for free and allowed players to make and share their own custom Rhythm Heaven remixes using existing games and even a few original ones. And if you didn't know this was unofficial, you really couldn't tell. It's incredible how well they replicated the art style for the new games, as well as how they recreated the original games. However, in the middle of 2024, Nintendo issued a DMCA takedown notice against Heaven Studio, leading to the removal of its source code and no longer being available to download. We should have known that this was going to lead to Groove. Historically, Nintendo only issues DMCA takedowns when it directly competes with a product they're currently selling or are planning to sell. And since no Rhythm Heaven games were available at the time to purchase directly from Nintendo, it's likely that Rhythm Heaven Groove being on the horizon is the reason for the takedown. So a brand new Rhythm Heaven game crosses off another series on the list that has finally made it over to Nintendo Switch, and with a new entry no less. As a longtime fan of Rhythm Heaven, I would have been happy with a remake of one of the older games or even just a port, but the fact that we're going to be playing brand new games is just unreal. It's really an exciting time to be a fan. The fan reception has been incredible so far, and Groove has the potential to attract an audience of die-hard fans as well as newcomers to the series. We've seen pretty decent sales figures from Nintendo's franchise revivals on Switch, and I can't imagine the momentum will slow down with Nintendo Switch 2. Who knows what they'll pull out of the catalog next? Hopefully we don't have to wait too long. Rhythm Heaven Groove represents a long-awaited return to the series fans have come to know and love, and that was apparent from the start. The official confirmation is more than just a new entry in the series. It's a sign that Nintendo is listening. It's not their biggest franchise, but the devotion from fans and outspoken support over the years is finally paying off. And even though the 2026 release seems so far away, it's a good sign of Nintendo continuing to support their system for the foreseeable future. I'm already really excited for Groove, and I can't wait to hear more.